Welcome to College Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: seeking a big edge in AI, South Korean firms think smaller. New Zealand interested in exploring AUKUS opportunities. WA's two top students, Beasley medal winners revealed. The hedge fund traders dominating a massive bet on bonds. Madison announces program to cover all costs for Native American students. Seeking a big edge in AI, South Korean firms think smaller. New York Times. South Korean companies are seeking to build AI models that are tailored to local needs, in order to address concerns about the lack of diversity in AI and the dominance of American companies in the industry. South Korea is well positioned to develop AI technology due to its wired population generating vast amounts of data. The country's export-driven economy has also encouraged new ventures to tailor AI systems to specific industries, cultures, or languages. South Korean firms such as Naver and LG are focusing on targeting their AI models to specific areas, rather than pursuing the global market like their American competitors. Naver has developed an AI model called Clova X, built for Korean language speakers, which recognizes Korean idioms and slang that American-made chatbots often struggle to understand. LG has also created its own AI model called Xaon, which is being used by publishers, research centers, pharmaceutical firms, and medical companies. While the US remains dominant in the AI field, South Korea's emerging AI landscape is one of the most diverse and competitive in the world. New Zealand interested in exploring AUKUS opportunities. Nikkei Asia. New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has said he is open to exploring opportunities presented by the sharing of military technology under the AUKUS Security Pact. Luxon met with his Australian counterpart, Anthony Albanese, in Sydney and discussed the potential participation of New Zealand in Pillar 2 of the AUKUS agreement. The two leaders did not confirm whether New Zealand would join the pact, but Luxon emphasized that the country's strong anti-nuclear stance is non-negotiable. Pillar 2 of AUKUS concerns enhancing the partners' joint capabilities and interoperability in areas such as cyber capabilities, artificial intelligence, quantum technologies, and hypersonic missiles. WA's two top students, Beasley medal winners revealed. The Sydney Morning Herald. Elena Latcham and Isaac Pinozzo have been awarded the Beasley Medal for achieving the highest results in Western Australia in 2023. Latcham won the medal for the ATAR pathway and also won the subject award for chemistry, while Pinozzo won the medal for VET and received a VET exhibition and certificate of excellence in automotive, engineering, and logistics. Latcham plans to study medicine, while Pinozzo hopes to become a software engineer. Education Minister Dr. Tony Budi congratulated both students and praised their dedication and hard work. The hedge fund traders dominating a massive bet on bonds. Bloomberg. A group of hedge funds led by traders Jonathan Hoffman, John Bonello, and Jonathan Typermas are at the center of a massive wager on government debt that has caught the attention of regulators. These traders and their teams specialize in a strategy known as the basis trade, which profits from price gaps between treasuries and futures contracts. They rely on significant amounts of borrowed money from Wall Street banks to pump billions of dollars into the trade. The bets are so large that they have become central to the buying and selling of treasuries, raising concerns about systemic risk. Regulators are concerned about the scale of borrowing involved in the basis trade and the potential risks associated with it. Last week, the Securities and Exchange Commission voted in new rules that may make the economics of the trade less enticing. However, regulators are in a difficult position as cracking down too hard could disrupt the orderly functioning of the U.S. Treasuries market, while going too easy could lead to excessive financial leverage building up at hedge funds. The size of the traders' positions means that the Federal Reserve may have to intervene if they encounter trouble again. The traders named in the article, as well as the firms they work for, declined to comment. The basis trade has become more concentrated this year, with 8 or fewer traders accounting for nearly half of all bets against 2-year Treasury futures. Critics argue that relying so heavily on a few hedge funds for market liquidity poses risks, as demonstrated during the market turmoil in March 2020. However, defenders of the trade argue that hedge funds help make the Treasury market efficient and that Wall Street banks have retreated from the market-making role due to new leverage rules. Madison announces program to cover all costs for Native American students. Yahoo! The University of Wisconsin-Madison has announced a program that will cover all costs for students who are members of one of Wisconsin's 11 federally recognized Native American tribes. The program will cover the full costs of studying at the university, including tuition and fees, housing, meals, books and other educational expenses. The university said the program will be funded with private donations and other institutional resources, but no state funding. UW-Madison Chancellor Jennifer Nicholls said creating the program was the right thing to do to improve the partnership between the university and the state's tribes. Man arrested in Philadelphia machete attacks may be linked to 2003 murder, sexual assaults. Yahoo! Elias Diaz, the man charged with 3 machete attacks or attempted attacks in Philadelphia, may be the Fairmount Park rapist who killed a jogger in 2003 and was involved in multiple sexual assaults over a 20-year period, according to the city's police chief. Police are waiting for DNA confirmation that Diaz was involved in the earlier crimes. Diaz was arrested after someone reported that he was carrying a machete while riding a bike. Argentina's president warned of a tough response to protests. He's about to face the first one. The Toronto Star. Argentina's newly elected right-wing populist president, Javier Milei, has announced drastic economic measures, including a 50% devaluation of the Argentine peso, cuts to energy and transportation subsidies, and the closure of some government ministries. The measures have angered some social and labor groups, who have called for protests. In response, Milei's security minister has introduced a new protocol aimed at preventing blockades, which would allow federal forces to clear people blocking streets without a judicial order and bill them for the cost of mobilizing security forces. Maryland men's basketball struggles again, barely survives in 73-67 win against Nicholls State. Yahoo! Maryland Terrapins beat Nicholls State 73-67 on Tuesday in their first game since December 9. The win took Maryland's home winning streak to 18 games, with their last home defeat coming on December 14, 2022. The Terps' next game is against UCLA, the team that beat them on that occasion. Native American translations are being added to more U.S. road signs to promote language and awareness. The Toronto Star. A few years back, Sage Brooke Carbone was attending a powwow at the Mashantucket Western Pequot Reservation in Connecticut when she noticed signs in the Pequot language. Iceland volcano threatens town and key power plant, live. The Independent. An eruption began at a volcano on the Reykjanes Peninsula in southwest Iceland on Monday night, following weeks of earthquakes in the area. The eruption has so far caused the opening of 3 out of 5 vents, with the possibility of more vents opening in the future. Experts have warned that the eruption could last several months. Residents of the town of Grindavik, which has been evacuated, had hoped to return home for Christmas but have had their hopes dashed. The Icelandic Met Office has warned that toxic gases from the eruption could reach the capital, Reykjavik, by Wednesday morning. Despite concerns, no disruption to flights has been reported. Thrill seekers have flocked to the site of the eruption, despite warnings from the government about the release of toxic gases. Young, Maryland rally and then fend off feisty Nicholls 73-67. Associated Press. Maryland defeated Nicholls in a close game, with a final score of 73-67. Yamir Young led the team with 23 points and went 10 for 10 from the free throw line. Dante Scott scored 15 points, and Julian Reese grabbed 13 rebounds and blocked 6 shots. Deontay Smith scored 18 points and grabbed 12 rebounds for Nicholls. The game was marked by poor free throw shooting from both teams. Maryland had a 17-game home winning streak entering the game, the longest in the Atlantic Coast Conference and 5th longest in the country. Ever want to curl into a ball? Here's how trilobites did it. New York Times. Scientists studying trilobite fossils from central New York's Walcott Rust Quarry have discovered the interlocking anatomy of a rolled-up trilobite for the first time, according to a study published in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society B. Trilobites rolled up like armadillos to protect themselves from predators or dangerous environmental conditions. The researchers used micro-CT scans to analyze the inner anatomy of the fossil, which they describe as enrolled, and also examined thin sections. The researchers also compared these structures to the anatomies of living arthropods like terrestrial isopods, or pill bugs, and millipedes. A Murray River fossil rewrites the history of Earth's biggest creatures. The Sydney Morning Herald. Scientists have discovered a fragment of a jawbone from a baleen whale in Australia that is 25 million years older than the oldest known whale fossils. The bone, found in 1921, was thought to be a relic from a whale that lived around 4 million years ago. However, researchers at the museum's Victoria Research Institute have now established the bone dates back 25 million years. The find suggests baleen whales evolved in the southern hemisphere, and have been playing a critical role in the health of oceans for over 20 million years. New AI death bot predicts people's lives including time of death. The Independent. Scientists from the Technical University of Denmark have trained an AI model, called Life2Vec, using personal data on Denmark's population to predict an individual's risk of early death. The model was trained on health and labor market data for 6 million Danes, including information on education, medical visits, diagnoses, income, and occupation. The model was able to predict outcomes such as personality and time of death with high accuracy, outperforming existing systems. The researchers caution against using the model for life insurance purposes due to ethical concerns. Vital Oxford Street cycleway to go ahead despite community split. The Sydney Morning Herald. The New South Wales, NSW, government is moving forward with plans to build a cycle path along Oxford Street, despite community opposition. An online survey conducted by Transport for NSW found that 57% of the nearly 1,500 respondents supported the cycleway, compared to 42% across all channels. Opponents argue that the cycle path will be divisive and damage local businesses. Transport for NSW has rejected calls for the cycle path to be built on Moore Park Road, claiming that Oxford Street carries more bike traffic and is a more direct route. Ladies and gentlemen, Sixth Doctor here, your trusty observer from the six dimensions. I hope you're all doing well and staying curious. Let's dive right into today's news. First up, we have South Korean companies taking a unique approach to AI by building models tailored to local needs. They're addressing concerns about the lack of diversity in AI and the dominance of American companies in the industry. It's a smart move considering South Korea's wired population generates massive amounts of data, and their export-driven economy encourages ventures to tailor AI systems to specific industries, cultures, or languages. Naver and LG are leading the charge with their AI models like Clova X and Xeon. While the US remains dominant, South Korea's emerging AI landscape is becoming one of the most diverse and competitive in the world. In other news, New Zealand is considering exploring opportunities presented by the AUKUS Security Pact. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon met with his Australian counterpart to discuss potential participation, but emphasized that their strong anti-nuclear stance is non-negotiable. The AUKUS agreement aims to enhance joint capabilities and interoperability in areas like AI, quantum technologies, and hypersonic missiles. It'll be interesting to see if New Zealand decides to join this pact. Moving on, let's congratulate Elena Latcham and Isaac Pinozzo for winning the prestigious Beasley Medal in Western Australia. They achieved the highest results in their respective pathways and subjects. Elena plans to study medicine, while Isaac aspires to be a software engineer. Kudos to their dedication and hard work. Now, let's talk about hedge fund traders dominating a massive bet on bonds. These traders, led by Jonathan Hoffman, John Bonello, and Jonathan Typermas, specialize in a strategy called the basis trade. It's all about profiting from price gaps between treasuries and futures contracts. They rely on significant amounts of borrowed money to fuel their bets. Regulators are concerned about the scale of borrowing and potential risks associated with this trade. The SEC has even introduced new rules to address the situation. But finding the right balance will be tricky. The size of these traders' positions might require the Federal Reserve to intervene if they encounter trouble. It's a high-stakes game, folks. Shifting gears, let's talk about the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which has announced a program that covers all costs for Native American students from Wisconsin's federally recognized tribes. It's a fantastic initiative that aims to improve the partnership between the university and the state's tribes. Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin believes it's the right thing to do, and we couldn't agree more. In some darker news, Elias Diaz, the man charged with machete attacks in Philadelphia, may be linked to a 2003 murder and sexual assaults. Police are waiting for DNA confirmation. Stay safe out there, folks, and be vigilant. Now, let's head to Argentina, where President Javier Milei has announced drastic economic measures that are causing some social and labor groups to protest. The security minister has introduced a new protocol to prevent blockades, allowing federal forces to clear streets without a judicial order. It's a tough situation, and we'll have to wait and see how it unfolds. In the world of sports, the Maryland Terrapins basketball team barely survived in a win against Nicholls State. It was a close game, but they managed to keep their home winning streak alive. Let's hope they have better luck in their next match against UCLA. Our next news takes us to the world of science and history. Scientists studying trilobite fossils have discovered the interlocking anatomy of a rolled-up trilobite for the first time. These fascinating creatures rolled up like armadillos to protect themselves. It's incredible to see how they adapted to their environment. Speaking of fossils, researchers in Australia have made an exciting discovery. They found a fragment of a jawbone from a baleen whale that is 25 million years older than the previously known oldest whale fossils. This finding suggests that baleen whales evolved in the southern hemisphere, playing a critical role in the health of oceans for over 20 million years. Our oceans are full of surprises. Now, let's talk about AI predicting people's lives, including the time of death. Scientists in Denmark have trained an AI model called Life2Vec to predict an individual's risk of early death. The model was trained on data from 6 million Danes, including information on education, medical visits, diagnoses, income, and occupation. It outperformed existing systems in predicting outcomes like personality and time of death. However, using it for life insurance purposes raises ethical concerns. Let's keep an eye on how this technology develops. Lastly, the New South Wales government is moving forward with plans to build a cycle path along Oxford Street, despite community opposition. The cycleway aims to improve transportation options, but opponents argue that it will be divisive and harm local businesses. Transport for NSW believes Oxford Street is the best route due to higher bike traffic. It's a tough decision, but hopefully, it will lead to a more sustainable and connected future. That's all for today's news, my wonderful viewers. Now it's your turn. What are your thoughts on these stories? Are you excited about South Korea's diverse AI landscape? Do you think New Zealand should join the AUKUS Pact? And what do you make of an AI predicting people's lives, including the time of death? Let's discuss and keep the curiosity alive. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.